All right, Shalom. First off, and give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachachodash. The honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone that teach and rule well, and as always, peace and salutations to the elect. All right, so Brother Benaiah from the Great Millstone Dallas branch coming back at you with a quick lesson. I'm going to entitle this lesson, The Marriage of the Lamb, the Covenant Cup in Preparation. All right, and as you can see on the screen, this lesson is going to be on Revelation chapter 19, verse 7 through 9. All right. The marriage of the Lamb and why the Lord used the imagery of marriage. All right. The imagery of marriage to between him, to paint a picture of his relationship between himself. All right. In the church, you see, and why the Lord said what he said and did what he did wasn't random. OK, just like with the Passover with the cup, he shared the cup of wine with the apostles. All this, it just wasn't random things that were done. They all were done with a meaning and a purpose behind them. All right. And it's important to go into our ancient customs to truly understand why these things were done and what they ultimately mean, to get a deeper understanding of the scriptures. All right. So I have this pulled up in ChatGPT. I have an article going into the ancient customs of Israelite marriages, and Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. So as you can see, let's open up with Revelation chapter 19, verse 7 through 9. It says, "Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife have made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for fine linen is the righteousness of saints. And he said unto me, Write, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said unto me, These are the true sayings of God." All right. Because we're living in a time to where this getting ready to be fulfilled. All right. The marriage of the Lamb is getting ready to take place. All right. But as you can see from this chat GPT, it says lesson objective to understand, number one, why the scripture uses marriage language. Number two, how ancient Israelite weddings worked. Number three, why Yahushua spoke of the cup of wine. And number four, what it means to make oneself ready. All right. It says, why marriage is the covenant image. Marriage in scripture is not a metaphor added later. It is a covenant structure established by God. And it has scriptures, Isaiah 54:5, thy maker is thine husband. Hosea 2:19, I will betroth thee unto me forever. And Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 32, this is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Hamashiach and the church. Right. Because when Paul was going, when he was speaking in Ephesians chapter 5, he was going into the relationship between a man and his wife, you see, and comparing it unto, like it said, this is the great mystery I speak concerning Hamashiach and the church. So like it says, Revelation 19 shows the final fulfillment of the covenant that began earlier. All right. So now we're about to go into the customs. All right. As you can see, ancient Israelite marriage, the three stages. Understanding Revelations 19 requires understanding how weddings worked in Israel. And that's true. All right. So number one, it says stage one, the betrothal. It says this is where the cup matters most. In ancient customs, it says the groom paid a bride price. A covenant agreement was made. A cup of wine was shared. The bride became legally set apart. All right. It says, and separation equals adultery even before living together. It says the cup of the covenant. All right. Which I want to get this real quick before we continue further. So these were all customs, as we read. The groom would pay the bride price, and the bride price. The covenant agreement was made, and a cup of wine was shared. All right. So let's go into this article real quick. And this is from BibleHistory.com, the ancient manners and customs. All right, you can, just type in at Google, the ancient marriage customs in Israel, and just look for BibleHistory.com. All right, but it says illustration of a marriage procession in biblical times. It says in the ancient Near East, marriages were always arranged. In ancient Israel, the marriage covenant was part of the civil law, and there were legal papers that were drawn up which defined the rights of the husband and wife. The wedding ceremony was all about bringing the bride to the bridegroom's house. The ceremony itself would last 7 days and sometimes longer, right? And that's where you can read it. You can read about There's ceremony also in the book of Tobit chapter 8, okay, around the 19th, starting at the 19th verse, all right, going down to probably like the 20th verse, you know, to where Sarah's father, you know, told Tobias that he wanted him to stay, all right, for 2 weeks. You know, he prepared oxen, he prepared some rams, you know, for a feast. And like it said, that wedding feast lasted for 2 weeks. So that lines right up with what we're reading about in the customs. You know, it can last 7 days and sometimes it can last longer, you see. And this shows too that when the elect are saved, when the elect are beamed up, that they're going to be in that chariot, that feast, that celebration is going to last for a minute. They're going to be up there in the chariots for a minute. So time is going to be passed on the earth, man, you see, before the New Jerusalem comes back down. But not to get too far from the point. You can read it, like I said, you can read about that customs in the book of Tobit chapter 8. Okay, so I'm gonna read that again. It says, the wedding ceremony was all about bringing the bride to the bridegroom's house. The ceremony itself would last 7 days, sometimes longer. There would be great rejoicing and celebration late in the evening of the streets, and also when they arrived for the feast at the bridegroom's house. It says, once they entered, the doors were shut and the wedding ceremony began. The bridegroom would spread the tip of his upper garment over her. Then they would proceed to the wedding chamber, then to the feast, right? And we know, you can read about that that covering of the, you know, that the bridegroom spreading the tip of his garment over her in the book of Ruth, you know, with Boaz and Ruth. You see, that's one thing that he did. Okay, and Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is going to do the same thing, and you can read about that in the book of Malachi chapter 4 real quick in verse 2. Let me get straight to the point. It says, but unto you that fear the name, unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and he shall go forth and grow up as calves in the stall, right? You see, because right, this verse right above there goes into what? The destruction. All right, and this next verse says what? But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. But when you go into this word wings, all right, and keep that in mind, that custom of the spreading of the garment over the woman, you see, when you go into this word wings, it goes to the Hebrew word H3671, chanap, where it says wings. But I'm gonna get straight to it: a skirt or corner of garment, right? You see, so the corner of a garment is spreading, going down to the Strongs. As you can see, it says what? The edge or extremity of a bird or a wing. And that reminds me of the scripture where the Lord said he shall cover thee with his wings. You know what I'm saying? It says of a garment or bed clothing, a flap, right? You see, even going further, when you go down to the Hebrew lexicon and you go down to the bottom right here, you see Ruth chapter 3 and verse 9. It says, spread thy coverlet over thy handmaid, i.e. take me to thy couch as thy wife. You see, so that spreading, so your Lord is going to spread that garment over his bride. You see, and then they're going to go into that wedding chamber, which is what? The chariots. You see, and that's where that consummation or that marriage is going to be solidified. All right. Once the elect is beamed up and goes into that chamber and changed, all right, then it's going to be known that we are the bride, Lord willing. I'm a part of that number, you brothers and sisters as well, that we are the bride of Yahweh Shah Mashiach. You see, so let's go back. To this article. All right, it says the bridegroom would spread the tip of his upper garment over her. Then they would proceed to the wedding chamber, then to the feast. There were many friends and relatives who would travel long distances. It says the fall was an ideal time for the marriage because it was after the harvest, right? You see, so like it says, the family and friends, all of these this is a part of the ceremony and the custom. So let's go down. So you got to remember what we read in Chat GPT about that the three stages. The first stage is what? The betrothal. Okay, so let's go back to this article and it's going to go into the betrothal. All right, it says marriage in biblical times, betrothal. It says in the ancient Near East, betrothals took place before the actual marriage. It was considered as binding as the marriage. In ancient Israel, a woman was who was betrothed was considered a wife of the man she was betrothed to, right? You see? So we've been betrothed to Yahweh Hashem Shai. So what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to remain faithful. You see? It says, in ancient Israel, a woman who was betrothed was considered the wife of the man she was betrothed to. And she was bound to be faithful, you see? It says, but it's like the betrothal period lasted usually 6 months, and sometimes 1 year. You see, and that's why there's a lot of confusion even going into the birth of Yahweh Shah Mashiach. All right, when you read in Matthew chapter 1, all right, about, Joseph, you know what I'm saying? Before they came together, she was found with child. People read that not understanding the customs. You see, not understanding that coming together is not talking about before they had sex. No, that's talking about before the ceremony of the wedding took place. You see, because she was betrothed to, she was espoused, like it says in the book of Luke. She was, I think it was Luke, or it may be in Matthew, how she was espoused to Joseph. Okay. She was espoused to him. So what does that mean? She was bonded. She was bound. She was already considered this man's wife. But what happened? You see, that betrothal period, like it said, can usually last up to 6 months to a year. So, but between that period, Joseph and Mary had sex, and before the family came together, she was found with child. You see, because we understand that everybody comes through the loins of a man, through the seed of a man. All right, like even like it says in the book of Solomon, no king had any other birth. You see, everybody comes through the seed. So this whole immaculate conception that the Christian church believes shows you that they don't truly understand the customs. All right. But not to get too far from the point, let's continue to go on. In the article, it says the betrothal period lasted usually 6 months and sometimes 1 year, and it was a binding promise between the bridegroom and the bride to marry. Deuteronomy 20 and verse 7 mentions the betrothal, stating that a man is exempt from military duty if he is betrothed. Once a woman was betrothed, she was considered already married. You see. And if she had sexual intercourse during this period, she was considered an adulterer and was to be stoned to death. Right. You see. And that's why, you know what I'm saying? The Lord, 2/3 of the nation of Israel are going to be stoned to death by those ICBM missiles. All right. But why? Because they're getting ready to have intercourse with another man else, who's not their husband. You see, and we know that other man is Esau, Edom. And how is it going to happen? Via that receiving that charagma, you see, receiving his name. All right. And not staying faithful unto their husband, Yahweh Shah Mashiach. Let's keep going. It says, if she was not caught in the actual act and was found not to be a virgin, the husband could dissolve the marriage quietly and sign a bill of divorce. It says, according to the civil law, the virgin was purchased for a certain sum of money. This was paid to the bride's father. Right. And what does the scripture say? All right, in the book of let's go to First Corinthians real quick. Matter of fact, I'll pull it on my phone, and I'm gonna jump back to this. Okay. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. I read in the last verse. It says, matter of fact, let me see if I can start up. Saying that a man doeth without a body. Now would you join to a harlot? The prostitute. Salaki, let me say something. Don't you realize that if a man draws the prostitute, he becomes one with her? For the scripture says the two are united. Okay, I'm gonna start at verse 16. I'm gonna read in the NLT. All right. It says, and don't you realize that if a man join himself to a prostitute, it says he become one body with her. And what is this prostitute in these times that the majority of our people are going, 2/3 of our people are going to join themselves unto? Babylon the Great, that harlot, man. You see. It says, for the scripture said the two are united into one, but the person who is joined to the Lord is one spirit with him. It says, run from sexual sin. No other sin so clearly affects the body as this one does. Right. And our people are laying down with this whore. You see, just as the other nations are. It says, for sexual immorality is a sin against your own body. It says, don't you realize that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, who lives in you and was given to you by God? Do you not belong to yourself? It's like you do not belong to yourself, right? You see why? Because we've been espoused. So we belong to our husband, man. That whole my body, my choice shit, that ain't what the scriptures say, man. You see, no, we've been betrothed unto Yahweh Shah Mashiach, so we ought to remain faithful. Okay. Verse 20, it says, for the Most High bought you, for Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah bought you with a high price. So you must honor the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, with your body. You see, I'm going to read that in the KJV, verse 20. It says, for ye are bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's, Right. You see, so we've been bought with that price. That's that bridegroom. That's that bride. I mean, that's that bride. That's the husband paying the bride, the price. OK, and Yahweh Shai did that. So let's keep going. Let me see where I stopped at. OK, boom, boom. It says later in Israel's history right here. It says later in Israel's history, she was given a gold ring or some other valuable thing. And the bridegroom would declare, see this ring or token, thou art set apart unto me. According to the law of Moses and of Israel, it says many times the betrothed woman would not see her betrothed husband until the marriage ceremony began. Right. You see, and all this is taken. So you see how the Lord was saying what he was saying, and how he had to go back unto the Father. You see, so going back into the customs that we read. OK, I'm going to go back to the chat GPT real quick. So the first stage is the betrothal will be read, right? This is where the cup matters most. Ancient customs, the bridegroom would pay a bride price. 1 Corinthians, what we read, right? A covenant agreement was made. We agreed, and what? A cup of wine was shared. The bride became legally set apart. So it says the cup sealed the covenant. Matthew chapter 26 and verse 27 and 28. So let's go to it. Matthew chapter 26. Verse 27 and 28. Matter of fact, I'm going to start up one. And you see how the Lord is using these. You see how our ancient marriage customs, the imagery that the Lord used. You see, it says, I'm going to start at verse 26. Matthew 26 and verse 26. It says, and as they were eating, Yahweh Shah took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat. This is my body. Verse 27, and he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it, for this is the blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for remissions of sins. You see, so this is that custom. This is a custom this is a part of the marriage customs of ancient Israel that we just read. A cup of wine was shared. All right, that's that agreement. So that Matthew 26 and verse 27 and 28 was what we just read. And it says what? Drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament. When the disciples drank, they accepted the covenant. The bride accepted the bridegroom. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and 20, what we read, you are bought with a price. So even when this happened at the Passover, right? So every time we get together and we have the Passover and we drinking that wine, you see, we eat that bread and we drinking that wine, we accepting that covenant that that Yahweh Shah made with us, man. We're in agreement with our husband. Okay, yes, I accept your betrothal. Yeah, I want it. Yeah, I want it, right? All right, it says, why Yahweh Shah said this, Matthew 26 and verse 29, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until the day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. Now, peep this. It says in ancient customs, once the betrothal cup was accepted, the groom did not drink again until the wedding feast. Right. You see, that's why Yahweh Shah said what he said, and everything was said to give an understanding. You see, and he used the imagery of marriage to give that understanding. That's why that's going back into the point. It's important to understand the customs. It says Yahweh Shah declared Yahweh Shah was declaring the covenant is sealed. I am leaving. The next cup is the wedding cup. Right. You see. So, and that was a part of the custom too. Once he came and he paid the price, and they had the cup and she accepted it, what he would do, he would go and prepare a place. Right. Which brings us to what? Stage 2, preparation period, the waiting. Revelations chapter 19 and verse 7. I'm going to read that again. It says, let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his bride have made herself ready. Right. It says what? The groom returned to his father's house. What did the Lord say? I must return to I must return unto my father. Right. You see, and that's exactly what happened. And when you read in the book of Acts, chapter 1, he went back unto the father. You see, he went to what? Prepare that place. Let's go to John chapter 14. As you can see, it says right there. Matter of fact, I'm gonna continue to read these. It says he returned to his father's house, prepared a dwelling, waited for the father's approval. Ooh, man, you see, waited for the father's approval. So let's go to John chapter 14. John chapter 14, and I'm gonna start at 1. It says, Let not your hearts be troubled. Ye believe in Yahweh, believe also in me. In my father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. You see? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. You see? So this is all, you see how it ties everything that the Lord did and the imagery that he's using of marriage and how it ties into it. Him leaving, him having to go back to the father. You see, this is all going into the marriage customs, right? So let's go back to this. Let's go back to this Chat GPT. So with that said, the bride, when he's going to prepare that place. All right. And what does it say the bride do? The bride, it says, remain faithful, prepared her garments, purified herself. She said, it says it did not know the day or hour. Right. Matthew 25, going into, like I said, the parable of the 10 virgins. All right. But you can get that. I'm going to get that last verse in Matthew 25. I mean, not the last verse, but verse 13. Matthew chapter 25 and verse 13. It says, watch therefore, for ye know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. Right. You see, because we kind of, the apostles, we did a video with the apostle last night, and he brought that point out. You know what I'm saying? We made a point about how shit, if the Lord told us the exact date, then Jake would just be a nigga all the way up into the into the day, and then try to get right. That's just the mindset of our people. And that's why the Lord set it up this way. All right. For us not to know when he was coming in. This is going into what? The marriage customs. You see, just like the bride, she will have to constantly be preparing herself. You know what I'm saying? And I want to go into that word ready in Revelations chapter 19. All right. So I'm going to continue on. It says, this is the current age. The church is betrothed, not yet married. 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 2, I have espoused you unto one husband. Right. That's what Paul was saying. And what? He is jealous over you with godly jealousy. Right. You see, which we're going to go back into the customs of the friend of the bridegroom and what he would do. OK. But I want to get this word ready in Revelations chapter 19. Revelations chapter 19. All right. In verse 7, I'm going to read it. It says, let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife have made herself ready. Right. Even in the customs of marriage now, what would the bride be doing in their betrothal period or engagement period? What would you see, women do today? Well, they'll be preparing themselves. They'll go to the watch. You'll see it's going to tie into it. Salakia. Let me go back. I'm going to let him say it.
Strong's G 2090. Hetoimadzo. Hetoimadzo.
Right. It says to make ready, to prepare, to make the necessary preparations, get everything ready. It says drawn from the oriental custom of sending on before kings on their journey persons to level the ground and make them passable, to prepare minds of men to give the Messiah a fit reception and secure his blessing. You see? So this is a part of the preparation time. I forgot. I can't remember if it's in the book of Esther, how before a woman could appear before the king, they will have to go through a preparation period. I think it was up to a year. She would have to bathe in particular oils and things like that to prepare herself to, fast and, get herself ready to where she's you know what I'm saying, on point when she's brought before the king. You ain't no scallywag just gonna go up into the, you know what I'm saying, bitch with a weave in her head. No. The Lord ain't looking for that, man. The Lord looking for pure, you know what I'm saying, for the wife to make herself ready in these times, man. And that's that waiting period, how we rating right now. Yahweh Shai is in the heavens with the Father, and he's waiting, all right, to come back and to receive unto himself his bride. So what are we to do in these times? To constantly watch and prepare and keep ourselves ready and getting ourselves ready, man. But even when you go into this root word, I'm gonna let them say it.
Strong's G 2092, hetoimos. Hetoimos.
And this is why I'm saying what I'm saying. When you go right here to the root word for the etymology, it says what? From the old noun, hitios, however you said it, but it says fitness, right? And that's the point. You know, fitness. They in the gyms, like you see a woman getting married. What is she gonna do? She's trying to get herself ready. She's trying to lose weight. She's trying to prepare herself to look good for her husband. She in the gym working out, fitness, right? We're doing the same thing. You see, we hitting that gym spiritually, getting ourselves prepared to look to you know what I'm saying, bathing ourselves in these oil and taking the right steps to make ourselves ready for our husband. All right. So let's go back. Let's go back to number 3. It says stage 3, the marriage and feast. The marriage and feast. Okay, so let me jump back to this. Let me jump back to this article, man. And like I say, Lord willing, this lesson is making sense to you, brothers and sisters. All right, but going back, it says the friend. This from BibleHistory.com. The friend of the bridegroom. The bridegroom chose a loyal friend to prepare the bride for the wedding. He would accompany her throughout the betrothal period and help her get prepared. Once the ceremony commenced and the friend heard the bridegroom's voice, he would know that he did his job in preparing the bride to receive the bridegroom. John chapter 3 verse 29 describes John the Baptist as the friend of the bridegroom who rejoiced because of the bridegroom's voice when he heard about Yahweh Shai preaching. Right. You see, and just as now, like the Apostle Paul said, I am jealous over you with godly jealousy because I have espoused you unto one husband. So he's a friend of the bridegroom, helping the bridegroom prepare herself, man. You see, helping the church prepare herself, right? It says the procession, and what we're going into right now was that last step, right? As we just read in Chat GPT, okay? But I want to read this real quick, then I'm gonna go back to that Chat GPT. I'm gonna read these last two. It says the procession. It says when the wedding day finally arrived, the bridegroom would dress himself in festive garments, wearing a crown of gold or silver or flowers, right? You see, he would dress himself in what festival in you know what I'm saying, in his garment. What does that remind you of? Revelation chapter 1. You see, he's gonna come and everybody's gonna see he's gonna have that garment on. You see, he's like it says, he's dressed to the foot with that golden dressed down to the foot with the beryl garment. You know what I'm saying? Down to the foot with the golden girdle around his paps. You know what I'm saying? Decked out. You see, Revelation chapter 19 on his head with many crowns, man. You see, it says, let me see. It says he would proceed with his friends and other attendants from an unknown place at an unknown time to the bride's father's house. Okay. The virgins of Israel would be outside waiting along the way in the evening with their oil lamps lit until the loud warning cry, behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Right. You see that parable, Matthew 25, but also what? You shall hear a voice, Revelation chapter 11. All right. Come up hither, Revelation chapter 18. You see, they heard their voice from heaven, man. You see, it says, and they would meet with him and proceed with him to the entrance of the bride's father's house. Meanwhile, the bride would have been bathed, purified, perfumed, and richly clothed and adorned with many jewelries, and will receive the blessing from her family and friends. So like it says, she was also completely covered with the veil as she waited for the bridegroom. When the bridegroom finally showed up at the entrance of the house, there would again be a loud cry, behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. The procession will begin with the from the bride's father's house to the house of the bridegroom. It began with a great celebration. The bridegroom, the bride, the friends, the virgins, musicians, and many other friends and relatives would walk and dance and cast flowers and sing songs with every demonstration of joy and gladness. It says the bride was crowned and carried. Ooh, yeah, hey, the bride was crowned and carried by the crowd on a piece of furniture through the streets to the bridegroom's house. Right, and you can read about that crowning in 2nd Esdras chapter 2. Okay, but for time's sake, I'm gonna keep going. The wedding ceremony. Now we're coming into the ending of Revelation 19 and 7 through 9. Okay, it says the ceremony itself was called the chuppah, which we know is not that, is is a different pronunciation, which means canopy. The bride and the bridegroom would go under the canopy for all to see. They would then proceed to the room where she would remove her veil, and they would physically become one in their marriage covenant with God. Afterwards, they would place the bloodstained garments out of the window of the room for all to see that she was a virgin. Right, Revelation chapter 14, man, because that's the the true bride of the Lamb is gonna she's gonna cry out, man. She's gonna remain faithful. Okay, it says Revelation chapter 14 and verse I'm gonna start at verse 3. It says matter of fact, I'm starting at verse 1. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with them 144,000, having their father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. The same thing we're reading about, in these customs, the procession, how they were the friends, and they would be playing music and this. You see, it says, and no man, it's like it says, and they sang as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and before the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. You see, brought back, you see, redeemed. All right. They're 1 Corinthians, right? It says, these are they which were not defiled with women. And this women, it's not talking about them being actual virgins. No, it's going about into those philosophies, any other philosophy, man. You see, the book of Psalms talks about these strange women whose lips are as honey, roughly paraphrasing. This is not, they're not going into actual women, but different philosophies. You see, so the 144,000 will remain faithful unto their husband, man. You see, they won't be defiled by these particular philosophies. It says, for they are virgins. You see, real quick, let's get that word virgins, man. Revelations chapter 14. Okay, to prove that point, going to this word virgins. You have Christians that they can't get no pussy. No, you got pussy. You can't beat 109. No, that's not what it's talking about, man. All right, so let's get it. This is that word virgin. I'm gonna let them say it. Parthenos, I think I'm saying that right. It says a virgin, a maritable maiden, a woman who has never had sexual intercourse with a man. But I'm gonna go down to the point. A man who has abstained from all uncleanliness and whoredom, attendant on idolatry, and so has kept his chastity. Right. You see, so a man that have kept himself from uncleanliness and whoredom. All right. Idol worship. These other philosophies. Right. That's what that's going into, man. So let's finish this off. Back in Revelations chapter 14 and verse 4, it says, these are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. Right. You see? So let's go back into this. This article. It says the wedding feast. It says the doors were shut and the feast began with great dancing and celebration, lasting 7 days at the bridegroom's house. Showing you, like I said, going back, showing you that when the elect is beamed up and they're in the chariots, that crowning that you read about in 2nd Esdras chapter 2, that whole Yahushua crowning the elect. That lets you know that it's gonna be some time. It's gonna be time passed on the earth before New Jerusalem, before the elect come back down in those new bodies, man. You see, to set up the kingdom of heaven. So years are gonna be passed on the planet Earth. You see, it says, going back, it says the doors were shut. The wedding feast, the doors were shut, and the feast began with great dancing and celebration, lasting 7 days at the bridegroom's house. All guests were given special garments. clothing of festivities, right? You see, all the elect is going to be changed. 144,000 in those, the innumerable multitude, men, women, and children who believed and followed, all right, and believed on the testimony that was given by the men of the Lord. You see, they're going to be given those new garments, man. All right. It says the bridegroom and the bride were treated as king and queen. You see, they also wore garments of celebration and did no work. They would watch the festivities, drink wine, and even join in the dancing. The ruler of the feast was responsible for all preparation. You see, so Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man, hey man, Yahweh Shem Yahushai is he preparing everything, man, because we got a lavish celebration coming real quick. It's gonna be, and like you said, all the family and all will come from afar, like we read up in the article. But I want to get this in the 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 in the MSG, man, because we have something coming, brothers. You know, the biggest party on the planet Earth, man, the most lavish, man, bro. You can't even put no words to it. This is 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, and I'm gonna start at verse 15. It's in the MSG. It says, then this we can tell you with complete confidence, we have the master's word on it, that when the master comes again to get us, you see, those of us who are still alive will not get a jump on the dead and leave them behind, right? You see, because brothers have them passed in this truth. You see, they're not going to miss out on that celebration. No, they're going to be right up there. Hey, man, they're going to be there. You know, it says, in actual fact, they'll be ahead of us. The master himself will give the command, archangel thunder, God's trumpet blast. He'll come down from heaven, and the dead in Hamashiach will rise. They'll go first. Then the rest of us who are still alive at the time will be caught up with them into the cloud to meet the master. Oh, we'll be walking on air, and it's like it says, and then there will be one huge family reunion with the master. So assure one another with these words, right? It's going to be the biggest family reunion on the planet Earth, because those spirits, those predestinated spirits were spirits who were, well, if we're a part of that these y'all are real, we are real family, man. You see, not these earthly families that we've been born into ultimately just to fulfill, just to play our part in prophecy. No, the true family reunion, you ain't gonna whoa, it ain't gonna be none of that Frankie Beverly shit, man. It's gonna be the true family reunion, that goes back all the way before the foundation of the earth, man. You see, and like I said, it's gonna be a lavish real quick. Let me see if I can find this. See if I can find this verse. Think is it right? Is it? Yep. So keep that in mind. This 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 16 in the MSG. It says, so we're not giving up. How could we? Even though on the outside it often looks like things are falling apart on us, on the inside where God is making new life, not a day goes by without his unfolding grace. It says, these hard times are small potatoes compared to the coming good times. The lavish celebration prepared for us. You see, there is far more here than meets the eye. The things we see now are here today and gone tomorrow, but the things we can't see now will last forever. You see, so it's a lavish celebration. All this, it's a wedding feast. The biggest wedding that can ever be thought of is getting ready to take place, man. You see, and I know I want to be a part of that. You should want to be a part of that, man. But you got niggas in the spirit of thinking, oh, well, yeah, we'll come back in the kingdom, man. Man, what the hell wrong with you niggas, man? Okay. So that's it on this article. Let's go back to the chat GPT and I'm gonna end it off, man. So the third stage, you got to remember, I'm gonna go back up. Stage 1 is what? The betrothal. All right. The cup of covenant. All right. And how the bridegroom would, the bride would accept it, and they would drink together, and they wouldn't drink again, and the husband wouldn't drink again until the marriage day, and the bride wouldn't see the husband until the marriage day. So number 2 is the preparation period, okay, which we're in right now. Number 3 is what? The marriage and the feast, Revelation chapter 19 and verse 9. Blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. Ancient reality. It says, groom returned suddenly. Shout announce his arrival. Right. The Revelation chapter, and they shall hear a voice. You know what I'm saying? Come up hither. Revelations 18. All right. In verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. That's that great shout. Bride was taken. Feast lasted 7 days. Guests attended, but only the bride entered covenant. It says wedding garments required, right? You see, the fine linen the bride wore, what the bride wore. Revelations 19 and 8. Fine linen in the righteousness is the righteousness of saints. It says important truth. This is not salvation alone. It is obedience, faithfulness, endurance, holiness lived out. James 2 and 17. Faith, if he have not works, is dead. Just as an ancient bride prepared garments over time, the saints are clothed by lived righteousness. It says why judgment comes first. Before the wedding, Babylon is judged. The bride is separated, right? Just like I read Revelation 18 and 4. In Israel, an unfaithful bride was disqualified. Purity mattered. Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 27, not having spot nor wrinkle. The cup yet to be drunk. Yahushua skipped the final Passover cup, the cup of consummation. Wow, he said he skipped. Wow, he said the cup awaits. Resurrection, kingdom, inauguration. I think I'm saying that right. Inauguration, however you say it, and marriage feast. Isaiah 25 and verse 6, a feast of fat things of wines on the lees. Revelations 19 and 9, blessed are they which are called. Okay, let me see. All right, let me go up a little bit because it was one part too, man. I want to get. Then I'm gonna end it off on that. Okay, boom, boom. Let me see. Well, I guess I can end it off on that. Cause I thought I was looking for the part where it was basically saying, it wasn't the bride, you had to be faithful, man. You see which we just read though. So I don't want to beat a dead horse, man. Let me see. If I can't find it, it's all good. Okay, yeah, here it is right here. Number 8, key takeaways. So Revelation chapter 19 is not symbolic fluff. It is a covenant law. The bride is not chosen last minute. She is what? Faithful, prepared, dressed in righteousness, waiting, and separate from Babylon. Right, and that's right. You see? So I didn't want to make this, too long. Like I said, Lord willing, this lesson will edify to you brothers and sisters out there, man. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachachodash. The honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone that teach and rule well. As always, peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.